Peace and love. How are you? I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being with me today, and for being with me on this journey. I'm grateful to have you here with me. Let's get started. I thought it'd be nice to do a bird reading with some of my bird messenger oracle cards. The first deck we'll probably use will be the bird cards here. One of my favorite decks. This deck has been with me for a while. It's out of print now, so you really wouldn't be able to find it. But it's a powerful energy, and we'll share it together today, by Jan Torian and Joyce Van Dyken. And this also is from the same authors, The Ascension to Paradise, so we'll pull one of these cards as well. Also dealing with powerful bird energy. But first we'll pull a couple of tarot cards to get started. And I'll probably read from the books for these decks because the books are pretty powerful in my opinion. Some tarot cards, some cards, oracle cards, I don't really get into the decks because the writing style, or I find them to not resonate with me as a reader and as a spiritual worker. But I love these oracle decks and these writings. So let's get started. Thank you, Most High, for the gift of life. Thank you, spiritual energies. Thank you, Spirit, for your wisdom, for your higher knowledge, for your openness. Thank you, Most High. Thank you, angels, for your protection. Thank you, ancestors, for your courage, your strength. Continue to move me forward. Thank you, bird friends and messengers and spirit guides, for your songs of healing, for your movements, for your flight, for your guidance. What messages do you have for us today as we always move towards healing, opening our hearts and opening ourselves up to the spiritual realm? What messages do you have for us today? Thank you. Thank you, spirit friends. What messages do you bring to us today? Thank you. The Three of Pentacles, the Magician, and the Page of Pentacles. So this already makes me think that with that Page of Pentacles, that you're ready to move forward with the idea. The Magician is saying that you've worked on something powerful, or that you're in the process of working on something powerful. This can be a project, or this can even just be the self, right? But you are in the process of manifesting something that is beyond what you've normally done. And the Three of Pentacles goes with that energy of presenting it. It's when somebody has finally seen you, or it's when you've finally shown yourself, and when people can say, wow, that's really interesting, or what that person is doing is magical, or I never knew that person had that in them. It's an energy of creating something and finally being seen for your creation, finally being seen for who you are, finally being able to present yourself as you truly are. That's the Three of Pentacles energy. That Magician, all of these energies are energies of work. It means that you've put work in on something. The Page is a small energy, but it means that all the work that you've done, you're now at the position and you're now at the point to present it to the world with the Page. The Page also means that messages can come in too. There could be messages in the physical, or there could be messages in the spirit, saying that it's time to put yourself out there. It's time to put your work out there. It's time to put your full self out there. It's time to put your full self into your creations. All these energies are here. The Magician has the energy of being able to create with what you have. It's not an outside energy. It's nothing that we have to wait to get. We don't have to order anything online. We don't have to read anything in the book. We don't have to ask anybody for instruction. Of course, we always ask our guides, and we ask the Most High, and we ask Spirit for guidance, right? But those things are still within the body and within our hearts and within our minds. But the magician is an energy of singularity, which means that whatever we can create it with wherever we are, with what we have now. We've talked about this before. When we come here on this planet, we come here with a set of skills and a set of gifts, right? Because the spirit realm doesn't understand money. The spirit realm doesn't understand time. These things are human concepts, right? The tangibility of the reward from the gift. But the gift itself is just the gift. And the gift itself is the reward. And the gift itself is the monetary, is the gain, right? But the worldly realm doesn't operate in that way. Our gifts have to manifest something that's tangible, or our gifts have to equate to something that can be put in the hand like this, or that can be put into the bank. And if it doesn't do that, then is it a gift? If it doesn't do that, then is it important? And what happens is those things become put away. Those gifts that we came here with become put away, and they're not in use. There's no reason to use them, right? Because I can't do anything with them. Because the world doesn't require, the world doesn't have any need of this, or I can't receive anything from it, okay? And so the magician says that you were put here with what you have, with your hands, your body, your mind, your heart, your spirit. And we must not overlook the spirit, which is the blueprint of who you are. It's the mastermind. It's the genius energy. It's the individuality. It's the beyond this world. It's the spiritual realm. It's that energy, right? It can't be duplicated. It can't be all that stuff. You understand what I'm saying, right? It's you in its purest essence, right? And so we come here with that energy, which is saying that you're born with what you need in order to live. However you live, that's up to you. Whatever you want, however you want to live, that's your idea. But if you want to access spirit, and if you want to access who you are, then the magician is saying that I've given you something, or spirit has given you something that will allow you to sustain yourself through the good and through the bad. Because what happens is when we hold ourselves on to tangible things that are given to us by the world, when it becomes bad, we don't know how to sustain ourselves. We only know how to sustain ourselves in periods of good things, and when things are flowing, when the money is flowing, when the gifts are flowing, when the smiles are flowing, and when everybody's laughing and playing and dancing. But what happens when they stop dancing? What happens when the money stops flowing? What happens when the days become a little bit darker? And what happens when things become a little bit colder? What do you do then? How do you sustain yourself in those moments, right? Because sometimes the money isn't enough. Sometimes the accolades and those things don't really equate to the spiritual happiness that will allow us to have true peace, right? And so the gifts of spirit, the gifts that the magician brings, which is the true self, those are the gifts that get us through the darker times, that get us through times when we don't understand what's going on. Because we talk about that a lot in these readings, when the world is a trickster energy, where we're going to see things that are going to throw us off. We're going to see things that are going to hurt our hearts. We're going to see things that don't make sense. We're going to see things that we prefer to not see or prefer to shield ourselves from. But even in those moments of unsurety, even in those moments of pain, there's still things that can be created. There's still things that can be learned and taught, right? And so we always want to have respect for the gifts that are hidden within the self. And we always want to work towards bringing those out into the present. People read tarot like it's an easy, these energies are easy. And, you'll have readers, well, just do this and just do that. we wouldn't be going through spiritual transformations if things weren't easy. We wouldn't be ascending if things were easy, if things weren't hard. I'm sorry what I said earlier. If things were easy, we wouldn't, everybody would just be able to do it, or we'll just be able to walk out the door and just do it. These things require time, they require deep thought, they require patience, they require respect, they require honoring the self, honoring the body, honoring your heritage in a lot of instances, in most instances, honoring your heritage, who you come from, your ancestors, honoring the spiritual body, honoring the Most High. These are the energies that you have to embody and work with in order to move through the trials and tribulations of the world that we live in, right? And so spirit, we have the hangman on the bottom. And this has been my energy lately for a while now. I would say within the last few years, I've been getting this energy back and forth. The hangman is looking at things differently. It's a spiritual energy. It's a difficult energy to be in because the movements might not be what you want them to be. You're not moving forward as fast as you want to. You're not seeing the results like you want to. But keep in mind that spiritual results are different, because we talked about it earlier, how spirit doesn't deal with time, right? And so the smallest thing, like the movement of a snail or the movement of a turtle, can be powerful in the spiritual realm. But to us here in the physical body, it's like we're walking with bricks on our feet, right? So that's what the hangman energy is like. It's a spiritual energy of contemplation, introspection, but it's watching the world go by. It's almost like being a spectator. It's that feeling where you're seeing people do things and you're wondering, wow, how did they get there? Or you're wondering what's going on with them. But the bottom line is that we're not here to look at what other people are doing. We're not here to compare ourselves to others. We're not here to model ourselves after others. Of course, we want to always move into a positive light. If we see people doing positive things, we can let them inspire us. That's true. But the trick happens when we hold ourselves to the ideas of others and the ideals of others. When the spiritual blueprint of the spirit has the movement forward, it has our movements forward. And so we stay in this energy, sometimes because we're scared to move out of it. Sometimes we stay in this energy because we're practicing too much introspection. That's another thing where we're not moving forward. Or sometimes spirit keeps us in this energy. Sometimes it's beyond us. Sometimes you're in a spiritual hold, or a movement, a non-movement, a lesson of non-movement, where your angels and your guides and the realm is telling you that nothing is happening at this time. And it's nothing that you can do to make anything happen with this time, because ultimately this is the lesson, to see what you can do in this time. Best believe that the hangman can still create, right? Because what can we do in the mind? If we can't move our feet, if we can't move our feet and we can't physically move out of the situation, can we move with our minds? Can we move with our hearts? Can we move in the spiritual realm? That's what meditation is about. Meditation looks like it's non-movement, but it's spiritual movement. Astral travel, these same things that people talk about, those things are done in the sleep. It's non-movement of the physical body, but it's movement in the spiritual realm, right? If you are non-moving in the physical realm, but you're creating in your mind, if you're coming up with ideas, if you're creating that next story, if you're working on that novel, if you're working on that song, if you're working on that painting, if you're visualizing yourself, if you're visualizing your future, if you're visualizing the home you want to move in, if you're visualizing the person that you want to show up as, which is truly yourself, right? If you're visualizing the environments you want to be in, if you're visualizing the partner that you want to have in your life and have in your bed and having if you're visualizing all those things, that love that you want to have, these are energies of movement that don't require physical movement. This is the manifestation of the magician, because the magician says you use what you have. And so you might not be in a position to use your hands. You might not be in a position to use things that might be physical, but the magician also works with the sword energy, which is the mind energy, which you can stay still and use your mind. So we are always powerful. even when we aren't allowed to move as far as we want to. I might not be able to go out here and sprint down the street. I might have to skip. Some people might have to crawl. Some people might have to use a walker. It doesn't make a difference, right? The bottom line is that there is movement forward for us in whatever way that our spiritual guides want it to be. But that's the difficult part. This hangman is a difficult energy because we feel like we aren't being productive. We feel like we aren't making changes. We feel like nobody is seeing us. We feel like our guides aren't hearing us. We feel like we're talking to a brick wall. We feel like we're walking, against the tide. We feel like we are, just all those energies. And they bring on a sense of frustration. And what happens with that frustration is we just say, F it. Whatever it might be, forget it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. But that's the test, right? The test is to see how long you're willing to stay in this energy. How powerful can you be in an energy of non-physical movement, right? How powerful can you be in those energies? How powerful can you be when things are tumbling down around you? How powerful can you be when you're dealing with pain, when you're dealing with sorrow, when you have to say, wait a minute, this is too much for me, I have to step back. I have to step back and reevaluate. I need to go within and find out where I am and what I'm doing. That's powerful. Thinking about yourself, healing yourself from within, those are powerful energies. They don't require any movement. Looking at your past, looking at things that you've done, staying still and saying, wait a minute, why did I make those mistakes? And they weren't mistakes, they were lessons, things that you're learning from. But why did I go down that path? You don't have to move to analyze that. Introspection doesn't require movement. But people don't want to look at who they are. People don't want to go deep within. People are afraid to go into the cracks and crevices and the shadows and the deep dark places, right? But that's where you truly reside, in those areas, right? That's where the childlike self resides, the one that you've hidden away, where the gifts are. All those things are in those places that you don't want to visit. And all that energy can be accessed in this hangman. All that energy is accessed there. And until you access that energy, and until you acknowledge that you need to access that energy, sometimes spirit won't let you move forward. And it's a very powerful energy of pushing against something. A lot of people don't realize that it's spiritual forces. But it's when you're trying to do something and you're trying to create something, not saying that you're not supposed to do it and not saying that you're not supposed to create it, but there are lessons that need to be learned and there are things that need to be done beforehand before we get to that level, before we get to that point. And we only know what those things are through experiencing the grief of not moving forward and through going through the process of introspection, spiritual introspection. It's a painful feeling to fight against a powerful spiritual force. It's a very, very humbling experience when your guides are telling you no, right? And you're like, okay, they told me no this way. Well, let me go about it this way. This will do it. And they say no. And you say, okay, well, get that. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to go blah, 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 blah. And they're like, no, you're not going to go this way. You're not going to go that way because you haven't done anything. You've done some things. The ideas are there. But there's still some type of work that can be done. There's still some type of work that needs to be done. So that's where we are. The hangman energy is the overall energy because I always look at the bottom of the deck as the overall energy. And that's where we are, where we have the ideas. We have the creativity. We have the talent. The magician tells us so. But the movement forward is not happening now because it's not really supposed to, for whatever reasons. I never get the reasons. I ask Spirit all the time, why aren't you moving me forward? Why aren't I moving forward? But then, like I said earlier, the movements forward in the physical realm have nothing to do with spirit. Spirit, I could be soaring, right? But then when the bills need to get paid or when certain things need to be done, does that bring me comfort? The Most High says yes, it should bring me comfort. But you get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. Let's see what the bird cards have for us with messages. messages do you have for us today? You know, and like I talk about all the time, these are the energies that I'm moving through. This channel is collective energy. It's not just me. It's not just you. It's not just this person, that person, Bob and Jane and Jill and Jack. It's not that. It's the collective energy of spirit. And usually we all are going through the same thing in different ways if we're on a spiritual path. Some people out there doing whatever the heck they want to do. You know, I have nothing to do with that. I'm not reading for that. What I'm reading for are people that are interested in the ascension journey, which is the movement of spirit from the physical body to the spiritual into the next dimension. That those things happen right here and right now. That's happening for me right here and right now. I've talked about this before, and maybe I might do another reading, a full video about that. But ascension process is always happening. It's always happening. Whether people are realizing it or not, you know, that work of the spirit to lift out of the body, the lightness of the spirit to be able to lift out the body to ascend to the next dimensions is happening. Some people, they won't. Some people will be like lead, right? Some people will be like bricks. It's not moving. It's no movement. It's no lightness. Because they've allowed things to sit on top of them. And they added this on top. And then they added this on top. And then they added this on top. You get what I'm saying? Usually things of the world. Right? Things that bring harm to the spirit. They didn't work to remove them. They just delighted in having them there. And that goes into the shadow that I've talked about. You can go back and look at that video. It talks about it a little bit. I will talk about it more. The shadow is a powerful energy because it can somewhat be good. It's a good feeling to be in the shadow for some. Because we're not thinking too much about the effects on others. How we treat others. How we treat ourselves. We're just looking for the immediate, that immediate fix. That immediate feeling. Which you're not going to get with the Hangman Energy. That's why it's so different and so difficult to follow a spiritual path. Because a spiritual path will hit you with this, right? It'll hit you with this energy of non-movement, you know. And the shadow can bust on through. Not saying that, you know, I'm not saying, I mean in a bad way. You know, it means that you bypass others and you even bypass yourself to achieve goals that aren't necessarily, or more than likely aren't for you, things that aren't for you. And you've left fires, blazing fires in your path because you've torn others down and you've torn yourself down. So that's a difficult energy, but people make it work now. People move with that shadow energy, and that's for them to figure that out. But that's not why I'm here, and so that's that. That's that. Spirit, what messages do you have for us today? What energy do you have for us today? We have the eagle, which is a powerful energy, and we have the owl, messenger, right? Spiritual messenger. The owl for me always represents that idea of confronting things in the dark, because you know the owls are nocturnal. So not being afraid of opening your eyes up in the dark, not being afraid of hearing what messages come to you in those hours, right? Or facing the dark parts of ourselves. We'll read what the owl has to say, but this is also spiritual and ancestral messages. The eagle, powerful energy, a divine messenger. This eagle looks like it's grasping the sun, which means it has ultimate, supreme clarity. It knows where it's going. It holds its own power. It holds the power of creation and life force energy. It carries it within because it has it within its talons here. It's carrying the sun. And those rays are blasting down, if you see it. So that's the powerful energy of this bird being able to not only carry the sun, but to share it with others, to be able to share that warmth and that healing and that life force and that clarity with others, right? And then it's just covering the earth here. those up there. Angelic guidance. Guidance from the Most High with that. Being guided by that because it's over the crown here. The eagle and the raptors, they're beautiful energies. They're powerful. They're big birds, right? But the power is not necessarily that they're big birds. They're in flight. They're gorgeous. You know, those that wingspan and being able to glide and being able to get so high in the air. The energy comes from the ability to be patient in the air and to be up there for a very long time, following the wind, moving along with the wind, graceful and full. And sometimes I'll look at them and I'll see them, you know, falter a little bit, but it doesn't take them long for them to get back into the groove and move with that air. You know, they've mastered it. But they stay up there as long as they need to. And that distance that they go, sometimes I'm amazed because I told you that's what I do is bird energy. And I normally can gauge a lot from my life by looking up and seeing their flight patterns and their flight style. And also it can tell me directionally where I need to go. It's something about that for me. And it might be for you as well. But how far they get up, sometimes they might work together, but a lot of times you'll see one on its own. So the idea that you might have to go on your own. You might have to go a distance above everybody else. You might have to go in your own direction to get to your goal. Right? You might have to leave the others behind because they move up there in that air and they are so sure. So it's inherent in you. Whatever this is, it's inherent in your energy field. It's inherent in your physical and spiritual body to do whatever this is that this magician wants to create. Because this bird, this eagle, doesn't think about flying. It doesn't think about gliding into the air and moving along with that wind. It just does it. And so that's what this is. Whatever you're creating, whatever you do, you just do it. You just know how to do it. And you might have to leave others behind to do it, right? And that sight, I'm just amazed by that sight that they have. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that angelic, being. That sight that they have. They're able to be so far up with that patience. Don't forget it's patience because they can be up there for a very long time, getting higher and higher and higher in the sky, to the point where they look like dots to me. But they're still aware. It's never a moment that the eagle, it's never a moment that the hawk, it's never a moment that these energies are not aware of what's happening on the ground, right? And so it's that energy of being able to distance yourself, but still being aware. That's the hangman energy. It's being able to pull yourself from the crowd, but still being aware. It's the spectator. It's the power that comes from the spectator. It's the power that comes from watching things that are happening around you, not participating, but knowing it to the point where things are happening in front of you and you just see them. You just see it all. You see the world. The sight. That's the gift of sight. This represents the gift of sight. This bird can be so far up. And once it sees what it needs to see, once it sees its prey, and for us, once we see that goal, or once we see that entry, or once we see that entryway into exercising and using our talents and using our gifts and showcasing ourselves and showing ourselves, that's when we head on down, right, with that strength, that power. And they're not moseying on down. They're not lollygagging. They're going with full speed. They're not going to give that prey a chance to say, what's happening? What's going on? It's going to take them by surprise. So whatever you do, you're going to take others by surprise with it. They're not going to know what hit them. When you show up and when you swoop down with this energy, they're not going to know. Let's read the eagle, and then we'll read the owl. Oh, and then we're going to get one of these from the Ascension. Okay, I love these cards, so let's see. Eagles fly to enormous heights, far higher than most birds are able to reach. They see huge vistas from far, far below them able to track tiny creatures with their incredible eyesight. They are the kings and queens of the bird kingdom and carry the vibrational energy of the power aspect of God. If the eagle resonates with you as a symbol, then you have great power at your disposal. You are a born leader. Those with mature souls rule with wisdom and compassion, but there are also some who abuse their power. Power is a magnifier of both the good and the bad elements in a personality. So be sure that you are not misusing yours. And that goes to what we were saying about that shadow, operating in the shadow or operating in that higher frequency. Let's think of the owl really quickly because it showed up on the bottom. Night creatures like the owl represent the collective unconscious of mankind. This is a place where our true knowing resides. There is a mystery here and magic. We are unconscious of the life of these shy birds because we are asleep. But while we dream, they swoop and call and hunt and watch. If the owl resonates with you as a symbol, then you know how to navigate change with wisdom. You have a deep understanding of the power of love to harmonize situations where change is underway. Beautiful energy with those. Those are elements of who you are with those cards. And that could be it too, since they said the bird was shy. It could be parts of yourself that you don't want to share with others, but Spirit is saying, it's time now. In your way. Do it in your way. You don't have to be as direct as that eagle energy. You can be the owl energy. You can try to embody both of those energies. Those are two different bird energies. Both very powerful. And Spirit is saying you have both of those within you. And then we have the flycatcher. And this is what we'll finish up with. I'll just give you a moment to look at it. Beautiful cards. The flycatcher. There are many wonderful versions of the flycatcher. Some are quite understated, and some, like the paradise flycatchers, are magnificent. But they all express the same energy, whatever their coloring or plumage. The joy of creative self-expression. How do you express yourself creatively? It is absolutely essential for health and well-being to have an outlet in one's life for creative self-expression. There are many ways to express oneself creatively, as there are individuals upon this planet. So there is no limit to the choices of how you do this. But you must find your own way to express your unique individuality. If you have chosen the flycatcher card today, then life is drawing your attention to the issue of creative self-expression. Are you perhaps putting so much energy into succeeding in the world that you are forgetting to play? Or are you at a crossroads of choice in life? And this card is reminding you that the powerful opportunity is being offered to you to choose a direction in which you could express yourself creatively. Where there is passion, there is energy to succeed. And where you align with your true creative self-expression, you are much more likely to find fulfillment. Flycatcher energy offers life, joy, vitality, beauty, and help in discovering your own particular form of creative self-expression. Sometimes your offering is so unique that it takes time to emerge. But you will know when you are right on track towards it. Your choices will just feel right, even though you may not quite understand why. Creative self-expression does not have to be the obvious modes, such as art, drama, music, or literature. But it must feel as if it's engaging you at source, because this is from whence it derives its health, giving, and nourishing energy. A purely intellectual activity does not tap into this level, and that is why it is not enough. Any activity where you have to draw from the deepest well springs of who you are is helping you moves forward to self-realization. And this is why it's so crucial, because otherwise you live a life that skids along the surface of things, and you never truly engage with wonder. Affirmation. I ask the overlighting consciousness of the flycatcher to help me discover my own individual creative self-expression, to find my way back to joy. And that's what you're doing. You're finding your way back to joy in the Hangman. waiting for that energy to come. You already know what it is. Because don't forget, the ego has that clear vision holding that sun, so it has clarity. You know who you are. You never had any doubt. You just need to show others, right? And that's what it's all about. All right, until next time. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see each other again. Peace.